Welcome to an episode of Two Drink Maximum, the podcast over two drinks and nothing more. I'm your co-host, Shane Bierley.
And I'm your other co-host, Chase Baxter. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us. So let's talk about it. This is a new show. We just started this show. And so let's ask some of the questions that you, the listener, are probably thinking. What is this podcast, Chase? What is it?
What are we doing here? Why have we brought you here? Why are you tuning in? Well, Two Drink Maximum is a podcast over two drinks and nothing more.
As the slogan says.
As the slogan says, our goal is to have some conversations, get to know people, learn about people, get some insights into their lives. And to do that, we would like to sit down and have a drink with them because it's a different experience sitting down and having a drink with somebody and asking them about their life other than walking up to them in the day-to-day.
I would say this. If a stranger walked up to me in the middle of the street and asked me a question, I would probably say no. But if they offered me a cocktail along with that question, I might sit down and have a conversation with them. And that's kind of what we want to do here is the elevator pitch of the show is it's an interview show. That's what we're doing. We're interviewing guests. We're interviewing people that we find interesting. And the hook of the show is we're interviewing them over the course of two beverages. Alcoholic, presumably, because that's what they serve at bars. If you go to a bar and you order a grapefruit juice, you will be kicked out. That's just a fact. Try it.
They won't. I don't know if they'll kick you out, but they won't be near as excited because that's a pretty good indication that they're not going to get a very high tip.
Yeah, very high tip.
Because you're not drinking a whole lot.
Yeah.
But yes, Shane is absolutely right. Our want is to bring people in, have a conversation with them, just explore their life, what they like, what they enjoy, who they are, how they go about this world, because it's a wacky world out there. And it's nice to sit down and get to know somebody on a more intimate and personal level.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, and drinks are such a nice, inviting, warming, welcoming kind of lubricant in the sense of sit, take a moment, breathe, relax with me. Let's have a drink together.
You have
Let's
to do
have a conversation.
a little more thinking when there's a glass in your hand and you sort of like swirl the ice around and you can be like, let me think about that question.
Yeah.
And then you can go on and go about it. So in an effort to facilitate the structure of the show, today we're going to turn the lens on ourselves.
Yes.
Today we do not have a guest. Today it is just Shane and myself, and we are the guests for ourselves on Two Drink Maximum. So firstly, we're starting off with our first drink here. Shane was gracious enough to prepare the drink for us. So Shane, tell us about this drink and why you chose it.
First drink of the episode, I have chosen an old-fashioned. An old-fashioned is my preferred drink at almost any bar or restaurant as a go-to. It's a classic drink in the sense that I feel like if I go to a place and they make a good old-fashioned, I trust they can do anything else.
That's the barometer?
It's the barometer.
This is the standard.
It's the standard. If you can make a good old-fashioned, I trust you can make a good dry martini. I recommend that you can make a good, French 77. Mm-hmm. You got this, right? But to me, the old-fashioned is the kind of standard to go to. I fell in love with old-fashions well before it was legal for me to drink them. One of my favorite movies of all time is 1963's It's a Mad, 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 Mad World. There's a scene in that movie where Jim Backus, who most people know as the rich millionaire husband from Gilligan's Island, he also plays a rich millionaire in this movie as well, but he's kind of a drunken buffoon who owns a plane. And it's at one point in the movie, two characters convince him to fly them to a location. And in the middle of the air, he's a drunk, and so he wants to drink drinks in the middle of the flight. Mm-hmm. They don't want to do that, so he gets all offended, and he says, and he goes, I'll just make some old-fashions. And at one point, they're like, really? Should you be drinking that? What if something goes wrong? And he goes, what could possibly go wrong with an old-fashioned? And then about 3 or 4 lines later, they still don't want to do it, and he goes, fine, let me come back there. I'll show you how to make an old-fashioned the old-fashioned way. As a 5-year-old, that killed me. And so that stuck with me until the point that I turned 21. And so maybe my second day at a bar, I went to a bar and I ordered an old-fashioned.
You knew.
And I ordered it the old-fashioned way. The bartender did not find this funny, was not amused, and was like, okay, and maybe an old-fashioned. Luckily for me, the drink was quite tasty. I liked them from the jump. Mm-hmm. And I thought, well, that worked out. I've been thinking about these for quite some time, and now they're my favorite drink. So still today, it is my favorite, is my go-to. If a bartender just points at me at a busy bar and they're like, what do you want? I'll just say an old-fashioned because that's all I can think of real quick. But they're still one of my favorite drinks. So that is why I have prepared this drink for us this fine afternoon.
That's awesome. Let's try it.
Let's try it.
Let's see how it is. You've gone the whole 9 yards. We have an orange peel and a cherry in here. So I'm going to take a sip.
A Luxardo cherry, no less. Don't chintz out with...
a what now?
Luxardo cherry. Don't cheap out with with some other cherry, some other random. No, it's got to be Luxardo brand cherry. They're like
Luxardo brand cherry.
Yeah, they're fermented in syrup. It's good. It is. It's quite good. The first sip was excellent.
I got to try one of the cherries before we started taping, and they are like, I've never tasted a cherry before.
Ever?
No, not ever. But I'm being
this
hyperbolic.
Is breaking news here.
I've had cherries before. I was being facetious and saying I have never truly tasted a cherry
before
until I have tasted this Luxardo cherry. Because you can go to a bar and you order first thing that pops in my head is order a Shirley Temple, and they drop cherries in Shirley Temples, and those are maraschino cherries.
Same thing, but these are the original maraschino cherries in their own syrup.
These cherries actually taste like have a mouthfeel of real fruit. The other cherries you get at bars are kind of like destroyed. We're doing a full-on ad for Luxardo cherries right now.
Feel free, Luxardo, to send your checks into two
boxes and boxes of Luxardo cherries. We will do something with them. We'll put them in every drink we have.
Yeah.
But I had never had a cherry that tasted like a real fruit and not just like I don't even know how to describe the other ones, but they just sort of fall apart. But this one has pulp and it has skin, and you can this clearly grew on a tree, and that's what it tastes like. So this is very good. You've made it with Maker's Mark this evening, I believe.
Maker's Mark is my favorite brand of whiskey. It's a very good, it's a Kentucky brand of bourbon. I like it. I just prefer it over other whiskeys. So a little Maker's Mark, a little Luxardo cherry, a little simple syrup, an orange rind, a little, whatever, and then just a little bit of ice and swirl it around, and it's a delicious, refreshing cocktail.
Amazing it is. You've made it a little stout this evening. So.
Yeah, well, I have a heavy hand. Ask most people that I know. I have a heavy pour. Now, I do want to mention from the jump, this show, folks, is not necessarily a show about alcohol.
Correct.
This show involves alcohol because it is 2-drink maximum, and that's what they serve at bars, and that's kind of the hook. That's the premise of the show. But if you're looking for a whiskey review podcast, or if you're looking for a show that's going to teach you about the latest micro brews, this is not that show. We're an interview show. The drinks are lube to the drinks are a way to get a good answer.
However many times we can say the drinks are lube would make me pretty happy as far as the entire
I feel like I could work it in about 7 more times this episode and make it natural.
I will keep track.
Yeah, okay. 1 down, 6 to go. The drinks are just a way to get people to relax, and they're a way for everybody to have a good time and just have an honest, open conversation. Like most conversations you've had at a bar. Let me put it to you this way. You've never had a meaningful conversation over a glass of water. That's never happened. Not once. You've had a couple of breathless conversations after the gym over a glass of water, but you've never had a meaningful conversation.
Sucking down a bottle of water at a...
Yeah, no, that's never happened. But you've had a couple of meaningful conversations over a glass of wine, or perhaps a pour of whiskey, or
possibly some nice dates over some alcohol or some...
Very much so, and that's the vibe that we want to promote here.
Families have probably been made over 2 drinks. So that's part of why we want to do this, because not to make families, obviously, but people get a little more relaxed. They're more willing to have conversations. It's something to do while you're talking, and it can distract you a little bit, and that can allow us to get a little bit under the surface with most of our guests, get them talking and get them comfortable. And then we can explore some really interesting things, because I don't know about you, Shane, but I find humans fascinating.
That's our goal here, folks, is we want to make a show that we want to listen to, and we hope that you do too.
So, to facilitate that, that's why we're doing this today. We are going to have conversations with each other. Again, just to introduce ourselves a little further, my name is Chase Baxter. I am a writer, producer, creative individual here in Los Angeles. This is Shane, who can introduce himself a little bit further if you'd like.
My name is Shane Bierley. I am an employee at a studio here in Hollywood. I am an aspiring filmmaker and a lifelong lover of conversations over drinks,
but also a big talker.
Big talker, yes. I let's get the elephant out of the room.
Conversation.
I've got a deep voice. I am well aware of that. I have been told that I have the voice and the face for radio, so it feels like a natural fit. But yeah, I'm a big talker. I love talking to people. I'm a social butterfly. I enjoy learning things from people and about people, and so a podcast of this nature feels the right fit for us.
It's great. So how you feeling about the podcast thus far?
Been feeling good. Yeah. I mean, full disclosure to some of the listeners, this is not the first episode that we've recorded.
That's secret.
Ooh,
you can go on.
Secret. All right, we don't want to admit.
That was a joke. That was a joke.
No, it's
not a secret.
It's felt good so far. It's it's like a lot of folks. People in their personal lives are a little kind of unguarded or whatever. They're a little bit more reticent to say things. When you turn the lights on, when you get a microphone in front of them, generally people step up and they become interesting, and they're willing to open up, and they're willing to tell some interesting stories. And so it's been interesting so far to kind of talk to some people who I maybe suspect might not tell you the same thing off microphone, or might not tell you after a second drink, right? And so it's been kind of interesting to get to know people on a level that I feel like you might not get to know them if you just met them on the street.
And that's what our hope is. We hope to give people a more like vulnerable, authentic view of our guests. And, you know, that's just... Shane also is a loud sipper in addition to a loud speaker.
I don't know why I convinced myself to drink this old-fashioned with a straw. That just feels wrong.
I tried for like 5 minutes, and then I had to throw the straw away.
Nope, yeah.
Now we're just doing it the old-fashioned style.
Just like Dad used to do.
So you said you liked It's a Mad, Mad, Mad World.
One of my favorites.
Was that enough mads?
Yes, 4.
I know there's a few. It's 4.
Yeah.
Mad, 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 Mad.
Yes.
I usually leave the last one off.
Yeah.
What about that film drew you to it? Like, why did you enjoy that? Why were you so drawn to that?
I love ensemble casts. I love movies that have big, huge, sprawling casts. And honestly, to say they don't make them like this anymore is fair. It's also just such a madcap. Mm-hmm. What I love about that movie is at every given moment, it feels like the filmmaker was saying, what's funny here? What's the joke? And it's definitely one of those movies that it's like, hey, if you didn't find this joke funny, hang on 15 seconds. There's 3 more coming. You will find the next 3 funny, you know? And I just love it.
What is your favorite joke from that film?
Oh, God. I mean, the fact that everybody just from the jump bags on Ethel Merman as just this awful, horrible shrew is just something that you can't get away with in it. But I think my favorite overarching joke of the movie is that at the very beginning of the film, these 4 different groups of people who are driving along the highway witness a car crash. The man who's dying tells them that about 200 miles south, he buried $350,000 under a big W. And for the next 2.5 hours, you watch you watch greed overtake these people as they become wilder and wilder and wilder to get this cash. And I think that is my favorite just overarching gag of the movie, is that greed affects all of us at that level into this broad mania, and we just become these awful, ugly versions of ourselves that are unrecognizable. The characters at the end of the movie are unrecognizable from the civilized people at the beginning of the movie. Yeah. And that is, I think, what makes me laugh the hardest every single time.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Just listening to your favorite movie and these conversations we're having about some of these old-time Hollywood people, what about the golden age of Hollywood entices you so much?
A couple of things. One reason is that they had to do it practically, right? There was no green screen. So if you wanted to blow up a building, you had to figure out a way to either blow up a real building, or you had to build a really convincing miniature to blow up. I think that because there was not, the visual effects didn't exist in the way that they did. I feel like one of the problems with big movies today is that they rely so heavily on special effects that they don't have great scripts. Movies in the 30s, 40s, 50s had no visual effects, and so the script had to be airtight. Characters had to be very consistent. The plot had to make sense. A had to, add to B, which led to C, and then D, and then the finale was E and F. I just feel like so many movies today rely on and then the city's going to blow up, and the day is saved, and everyone's going to be happy. And it's like, but there's so many plot threads that don't make sense and that are not.
And I would ask, if the thing still does well, does that matter?
No.
Not just like box office returns, but like if the audience still likes it, no matter what quality or whatever, like the audience gravitates towards it, is that still quality cinema for you?
I think people need to take into account, critics and studio executives obviously need to take into account what people like. But at the same time, I will quote one of my all-time heroes and icons, Larry David, and he said, I assure you, whoever said the customer is always right is, in fact, a customer.
That I absolutely agree with that. Having done enough jobs in customer service, yes, sometimes the customer is not correct. And it's your job to slowly coax them towards the correct answer without upsetting them.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about your professional experience. I mean, so you've obviously had quite the storied career. I mean, up until this point. So let's talk about.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it's storied to me. I mean, look. Let's talk about, what do you currently do, right? And what are the things that you've done kind of in the recent, the last couple of years, pandemic forgiving, right? I mean, the whole world shut down for 2 years. Let's just wipe 2020 and 2021 off the map.
Stuff still happened.
But I'm
it's
just
sort
saying.
You're right. It's sort of like a little like, yeah, okay. Everyone gets a pass for those 2 years.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't really get a whole lot of traction on things. And
No.
it's hard to just exist in the world because every 3 months people are like, everybody stay inside.
Yeah.
So, sorry, what is the question for me?
Well, I mean, just professionally. Talk about what is it that you do? What is it that you enjoy doing from what you do?
Okay.
And let's take it one step further. Based off of what you currently do, what would you like to do?
Ooh. There's a lot that I would like to do. There's a whole lifetime.
I knew that was going to be a big answer.
I know.
For you.
There's a whole lifetime of things that I would like to do.
Not a concrete answer for you. Yeah.
Right now, the best way I can describe myself, I am an artist. I do some graphic design work and I do illustrations and stuff, and I run a little art shop online. So I get stuff into the world that way. I am a writer. I just entered a TV pilot into a screenplay competition literally today. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully I get some traction from there, but that's a fun thing. What else do I do? Also performance. Obviously here we're hosting a show. We're trying to do a thing. So this is part of what I do. The desire to be on stage is a part of my life. Man, what else? Copywriting, writing in general. I do social media management. I do anything and everything under the sun that has to do with creative work. I'm a creative human. I can't not make things no matter what they are. So that's what I'm doing right now. I have a lot on my plate all the time. I try and keep up with it.
You are. I mean, I do not mean this as an insult, because when people say it, they forget the back half of the statement. But you are a jack of all trades.
Yes.
You do a lot of things. I say that because you know the back half of that statement, right?
Jack of all trades, master
of none. Right? That's the Aziz Ansari show.
But there's more to that actually. It's better to have a jack of all trades than a master of none. I can't remember what the actual. The general point of that statement is that a generalist is so much more versatile and useful in the world than someone with a very specific skill set, because a generalist can assign knowledge from different skills and abilities into different directions, because you have a concept of multiple avenues of solving a problem, and you can jump between those things. So that's what I like to do in work and art. I try and follow my passions and try and follow things that excite me, obviously. But I can use whatever skills I have from art and creation to use in writing and use in copywriting and marketing, and those all intermingle and all those things pull together. And I can, use the utmost of my brain doing things that excite me is kind of what I want to do.
I hear you, dude. Yeah, I mean, look, art is obviously by and large a visual medium, but Chase is quite the talented. I don't know if you I don't know if you've seen, dude, but my my cell phone wallpaper has been your art for the last couple of weeks.
That's very touching.
Yeah, it's cool.
So yeah, if you want to validate some of this, if you want to see my art, you can follow me at @cbaxter on Instagram.
Yeah.
I post a lot of stuff there, and I that's my general outlet for social media interaction. But thank you. That's really awesome. You're the first person I know of, other than myself, that has something that I've drawn as a background.
This one was so cool.
It's a very, very great compliment to have.
So
me on your lock screen there.
So before we move on from what we want the podcast to be, right, and we get to talking specifically about you and I, let me ask you just a question. So tell me, what is one of your favorite podcasts? Not necessarily what you want the show to be, but I think listeners might be curious, what are some of the podcasts that you like?
Honestly, my favorite podcast is Wait, Don't Tell Me.
Yeah.
By NPR. Do you listen to that?
I don't listen to it religiously, but I've listened to a number of episodes. I like it quite a bit.
I enjoy it because I worked in radio when I was in college. So I have a very fascination with old school transatlantic sounding radio. Hello, welcome to, you're tuning in to CNN. All that voice stuff is really awesome to me. Yeah. The news ticker coming in, and here's the news. So I am really enchanted by that old school, when radio was the main form of broadcast in the world.
Yeah.
And that's part of what I want to bring here, bringing that interaction, bringing that feel of a radio show to podcast.
Sure.
But NPR is a bastion of old school radio, because they're one of the things that still go out in the world and still have public access stuff going on. They do news reports, and they do just these talking programs that don't have much to do with their current event stuff and their AP news stuff. But that one is really fun because they have really solid guests. All their hosts are really great. I love the question and answer bit with the current events that they do.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It hits so many check boxes for me as far as like, oh, there's like a game show thing going on and people are calling in and they're going over current events and you just hear your news and it doesn't feel like someone's injecting you with information. It feels fun and it feels enjoyable. So that's something that I would like to replicate.
It's a little spoonful to go down with the spoonful of sugar
like
to
a
go down
Reader's
with the
Digest
medicine.
of a radio show.
I hear you. Yeah, and well, I mean, my favorite podcast is on the same network. It's This American Life, hosted by Ira Glass. I love that show. I've been a fan for a decade at this point. I mean, what I love about that show is, again, every week you don't know what you're going to get. Right, you don't know what the theme is, you don't know what the guests are, and every week it's like an old school variety show. You just don't know what you're going to get, and I find that fascinating, and that's kind of what I want this show to be. Is just every week it's something a little bit different, and it's something that's interesting to listen to because you weren't expecting it. That's why,
Yeah,
I don't want it to be something that I don't want people to come to expect the same thing over and over every episode.
we will do our best to surprise you.
We're not going to become the Big Bang Theory, the sitcom. That's not going to happen.
Although
the same thing, yeah. But if 12 million people listen to the show,
that's always the thing. Like,
if you want us to make jokes about Game of Thrones and Star Trek in the same sentence, we can easily do that. That is not that difficult.
That might take some thinking for me, but yeah, sure.
Give me 30 seconds. I can bang off
So
a couple
if someone,
zinger.
if someone walked in right now, someone burst through this door and somehow got in a hold,
Like Kramer, just right through the door.
Kramer style, sure.
Yeah, okay.
And he's like, I am an executive for podcastnetwork.com, and I want to give. I've listened to the recordings of your show, and I think it's amazing, and I need you to do 300 episodes. Is that something you would entertain?
Yeah, absolutely.
Really?
Are you considering that there are not 300 interesting people on the planet?
There are absolutely 300 interesting people on the planet, but would yourself invest in the time to do 300 episodes?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's
300.
For me, this is an excuse to talk to interesting people, and frankly, in a world where our attention is so bifurcated these days, between work and personal and all these other things,
in fact, I'll call out the listener right now. You're probably checking other things on your phone.
You might be, and there's certainly nothing wrong with that, right? We live in a busy world, but the opportunity for me to slow the world down for 2 drinks at a time and talk to someone interesting is an irresistible apple from the Garden of Eden that I cannot resist.
I thank you for connecting our show to the fall of man.
Well, just because one person made a mistake doesn't mean that the rest of us have to. I would just say that.
Here's a question for you, Shane.
Yeah.
Why should someone listen to this show?
Because we promise. Promise.
Okay.
Signed in blood. No. We promise. We're going to try to get interesting guests. We're only going to get guests that we actually want to talk to. We don't have agents. We don't have PR reps. We are not getting people sent to us to be on the show.
Yeah.
We're finding these people ourselves. And so we're only going to talk to people that we want to talk to. And so I promise you, if they're on the show, if the guest is on the show, it's because we wanted them to be.
So all in all, we want this show to be like a conversation between you and an old friend at a school.
I mean, if a school took place at a bar, yeah, that's exactly what we want it to feel like.
If you were allowed to drink in school, this would be the show. This would be the show that you got? What?
If you could have had a drink at school.
If your teacher was like, today we're doing spelling and also here's shots of bourbon, that's what this show would feel like.
I think I would have learned a lot more in school.
I'd have been so much more focused. If I got a drink
like little
like
pellets for gerbils, I would have just been like, yes, please, may I have another?
Algebra, yes, I would, as long as it comes with whiskey.
I think I would have been so much better at math.
On that note, it looks like our first drink, the old fashioned, is coming to an end.
Let's make ourselves another drink. Old school versus new school.
Yes. Next drink coming up.
All right, we'll see you in a bit.
Thank you for joining us in part 1. If you would like to keep up with us online, you can follow us on Instagram at 2drinkmaximum. You can also always send us an email and start a conversation that way, 2drinkmaximum@gmail.com. And now, here's part 2. Welcome back. We are on to drink number 2, which is a drink prepared by me.
It's delicious.
I've
already had my first sip. I have already had my first sip.
It's so refreshing. So what I have created today, this is something, it may exist or it may not exist. I don't have a name for it yet. So
well, it exists now,
and so
you're going to have a name for it by the end of the show.
We can arrive at a name for it. But what it is, this is pink lemonade vodka mixed with black cherry Waterloo sparkling water.
You know what this tastes like? Summer. It tastes like summer.
It does taste like summer.
Yeah. The dog days of summer, you're like out in a field somewhere, right? This is what that tastes like. It's delicious.
It's very refreshing. I think it's very sneaky. This is something that I created the other night because I had sparkling seltzer that Smirnoff is now making that is pink lemonade sparkling seltzer, and it was really, really good. But I saw that they just had this vodka, and I like cutting straight to the source as far as alcohol goes. So I got myself just some straight up pink lemonade vodka. I made this because I just like creating things, as I said before, and any chance I can get to make a new drink or a new concoction, I will do. I'm a human that has drank tequila and Kool-Aid while I was snowed into a house.
Yeah, wow.
And so I had to search through my pantry and find the only mixtures that I could make. So I'm not afraid of creating or trying drinks that are atypical to the world, which is something that's very classical to my personality as far as if you've known me or not. But it's just something that is a part of me to create and make things. So making a new drink was naturally what I was going to do. Because I'm a diva and I don't want to make drinks that already have a name because I would like to make everything myself. So we've arrived at this.
Look, one of the things that I like about you so much is that you're very much an arbiter of cool, right? You're very kind of on the avant-garde cutting edge, at least as far as I'm concerned, of what's cool, what's hip, And so the fact that you just kind of willed this drink out of existence.
That is news to me because I every day feel so very uncool in life.
Because we are in our late 30s. As you get into your late 30s, you statistically feel uncool all the time.
All the time. Every moment of the day, you're like, I'm 35. I'm not cool. But I never knew any 35-year-olds that were cool.
Yeah, but here's the secret that 21-year-olds don't know. Huh? You're not cool.
Nobody's cool.
You're all just out there. We're all just out there flailing for what we think is cool or whatever.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, when you're in your 20s, you're just trying anything and everything, and it's like, it's settle down into your 30s, then we'll talk.
Also, the concept of quote unquote cool is such bullshit.
It's nebulous. It's so nebulous,
yes,
is it not?
That's the thing you learn after 28. I think you're 29. You're like, oh, I shouldn't worry about being cool. That's bullshit.
The minute you wake up on your 30th birthday, two things happen.
And your knee hurts for no reason.
You have back pain for no reason. Yeah, I was going to say it's back pain, but you have no reason why your lower back hurts. And then two is you're like, everything I think is cool maybe isn't as cool as I think it is. Maybe I'm just going to do what I want to do now.
Yeah, I'll call it conditional cool. It's cool given the appropriate context and like understanding. Because cool is a very shifty thing, like you were saying.
It's nebulous, right?
Yeah, it's nebulous. It's not defined. Like, cool in certain circles is different from cool in other circles. So when you're 30, it's super cool to get enough sleep.
Yeah.
It's really, really cool.
Yeah.
To sleep so you don't wake up tired.
Yeah. Your neck just cricks for no reason.
Yeah. It's really cool to have your finances in order. That was something I would have never thought about when I was like 19, 20. I didn't give a shit about
and I have to imagine if you're in your 30s and you're on the dating scene, it's not cool to have your finances in order. It's sexy to have your finances.
It's very sexy to be able to, you know what? I got parking.
I got lunch.
I don't have to worry about this.
I got lunch. Just to throw down a credit card and be like, I got lunch.
We're
worry,
good,
folks. Yeah, that's good.
I have these things called money.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a few ducats in the bank saved one way or the other.
A few ducats. What is a ducat?
I mean, not that I'm super aware, but I believe it's a monetary concept that was used in ancient China.
Okay.
Don't hold me to that, folks. I have no clue.
I might try to hold you to that. But yeah, when you're something that I've noticed as I've gotten older is that things that I find are cool versus not cool have wildly shifted from when I was like 20. When I was 20, it was like, you know what's cool? Being awake all the time.
Yeah.
Partying all the time.
That tweaker aesthetic of just where your eyes
without maybe the tweaker part of it.
Yeah. The aesthetic.
But like if you were asleep, you were missing something. I remember that when I was 20. That was a feeling that I had.
I think that's a feeling that all 20-year-olds have.
The FOMO thing.
Yeah. And as you get in your 30s, you're like, I do not care that I missed.
You grow.
something.
You start to change. You become a different person. Like just from, I've said this, from like 25 to 28, I think every year that person is a different human being.
Yeah.
Because so many things are going on from those, like, during that time frame. You're getting out on your own. You're probably moving to your own place sometimes. You're finding a job that you're going to call a career. But, like, change is such a constant thing in those situations, which does bring us to me and Shane. Shane and I have known each other for... How long have we known each other?
I mean, we've known each other since 5th grade. And
Fifth grade.
I forget when you start school, so I'm not going to attempt to do the math. So we met each other when we were 10.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So I'm 35. We've known each other for 25 years.
And I'm 36.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, dude. I know.
That's a
We've
really
known each other
long
for
time.
I know.
I've never like really quantified how much that we've known 25 years.
Yes, dude.
That is incredible.
I know. We have known each other for longer than many people listening might have been alive.
That's amazing.
That's insane, right?
Okay.
And we go back quite a ways, right? And that's why I think one of the reasons why, we wanted to do this show is because you and I have such a natural, kind of chemistry. We have such a natural shorthand that I have never once felt, maybe since 5th grade, that having a conversation with you is any effort. Right?
No.
It's always been a breeze and it's always been fun. You're a close personal friend.
Oh.
And it's great, man. So this is not to get too mushy, but like I'm excited to do the show with you.
Yeah,
dude.
I am
like,
excited too.
Yeah.
We do. We do have a lot of really great conversations. Apparently we've had 25 years of great conversations. I don't understand.
I feel like I visibly just saw 3 of your hairs turn gray in this exact moment. When you realized we've known each other for 25 years, you just grayed a little bit from the top of your head. Just a skosh.
I try to hold on to the young hairs as much as I can. But yes, that is incredible. One, how's it been? How's this 25 years been? I love asking that question of people because I will interact with people sporadically. So I'll run into people and be like, I haven't talked to you in 3 years.
Yeah.
What's that been like?
Yeah.
Like, it's great.
And it's like 3, you're having a conversation with everybody since the pandemic's like, what's the last 3 years for you?
Everybody's had a 2-year gap.
How have the last 25 years been for me? I mean, you've been there for most of them, but they've been good, dude.
There's been some gaps.
I cannot complain. I mean, you know what? Look, has life treated me in the exact manner in which I hoped it would? Of course not. Of course it hasn't. And I feel like that's everybody's sentiment. But all in all, can I really complain about anything? No, I also can't. I feel like I'm a lucky guy.
Oh.
And I feel like
I'm also lucky.
Yeah.
It's been great to know you all these years.
It could always be worse, right?
It could always be worse. I could be a terrible friend that has just lured you into a podcast. But
I mean, what about you? Like, what changes when you look back at yourself from essentially, certainly when we first met?
Oh man!
But maybe let's skip over to like when you crossed into adulthood. Because let's be honest, there's no interesting 16 or 17-year-olds. No respect to the Dicamillo family or whatever their name is, the people that dance on TikTok or something. Those children are not interesting. Call me back when they're 25, right? But what are the people who are like what did you find out about yourself when you became an adult?
Oh man, lots has changed for me. Lots of shifts have gone on in the 25 years that we've known each other.
That's a fair assessment.
Just for context for listeners at home, when Shane first met me, I was a short, chubby, brown-haired straight boy. And now I am still pretty short, but...
Are you that short?
I'm 5'11". I'm a very weird height. But yeah, you met a brown-haired straight boy, and now I am
That's not the person you are today.
Absolutely not. I am a blonde-haired, non-binary, bisexual human at the moment. It might shift. That's just what life is like for me. But yeah, I've done a lot of effort and a lot of growth to like understand myself and understand who I am and who I want to be in the world. And so that is wildly different from the person that you first met. So that's like the importance of we've maintained a level of conversation over all these years and a level of understanding and connection and just like shared experience. There's like, this is a completely different human in front of you than you met when you were, 11 we established, obviously?
Yeah, 10, 11, somewhere in that ballpark.
So most people in the world don't have that same context and understanding of people they've known through their whole lives. So I guess, do you have any questions for me? Is there anything you'd like to know? Because you don't usually get the opportunity to just like dive deep on what's going on over here in the chase
No,
world.
I mean, look, dozens of questions, right? Plenty of questions I want to ask. But the thing that I think is most important to establish for me is, while I don't pretend or I don't claim to be established, I don't have my finger on the pulse of all things spiritual or ethos related. I still feel like, despite any change that you feel like you have gone through, I still feel like the soul of the person that I knew in 5th grade, you're still there. You're still my friend. You know what I mean? It's like,
hopefully that's a good thing.
Of course, and it's absolutely a great thing. So the first question that I might ask would be, we grew up in an environment that had a very specific box about what a person should or should not be, how they should or should not act.
For the record, we both went to a private Christian school.
In
Just
Texas.
for context, in Texas. In Texas, additionally.
Yeah, is my official opinion on that. So when did you feel like you might exist outside of the lines of the very specific predefined box that the society or the environment in which we grew up on, put you in?
Okay. I understand what you're going for. The real answer is always. I just didn't have the ability to contextualize and understand what I was feeling until the past 3 years, which is a crazy experience to have. But yes, I've always felt different and apart from the world because my reactions to things were not what everybody else's reactions were, and my interpretations and understanding of the world was different. And I always sort of turned that on me and thought well, that's because you're a weird human.
Sure.
And I didn't really understand or comprehend that maybe it's just how you're interacting with the world. If you could shift how that happens, you would be happier and healthier and more, enjoy your life more and be less in a little box, like you were saying. The specific answer that you're seeking for is probably once I moved out to California.
Sure.
There was much more freedom out here and much more openness and understanding to explore the world and kind of do things that were less traditional or less. I don't know. Texas is such
There is such a power in living in a community where you don't feel like there. I
didn't want to shake things up. I wasn't trying to fuck up the life that existed for me there.
Yeah, but here's my So I like boxing, right? I that's the only sport that I follow. I follow the sport. And so when you watch boxers, right, there's this very specific pose that only exists in the ring when they're on guard and their shoulders are so clenched and their hands are tight to their face and they're ready to fight, right? It's a very specific pose. And honestly, there is such a quality that it cannot be expressed almost in words or money to living in a community where you don't constantly feel like you're in that boxer's pose of just feeling like you're ready to fight all the time.
Absolutely.
Because you feel like you're surrounded by enemies. And so that is such a phenomenon that exists in certain parts of the country, that exists in certain parts of the world. And so, am I hearing you correctly?
I absolutely agree.
You're saying the minute you got, well, maybe not the minute, but after a certain point when you started to feel like California is my home, that's when you started to feel like, okay, like I exist outside of this box in which I was raised, and now I feel comfortable outside of this box.
And it wasn't even comfortable. It was just now I could acknowledge these thoughts and emotions that I'm having. Because absolutely, like you were saying, being the boxer position and the defensive position.
So tight. Your shoulders are clenched and your fists are right in front of your face. Oh, I mean, yeah.
It was that's a real thing. And just existing in fear and existing in constantly having to manage your presentation to the world and constantly have to manage how you interact and conversations you have with people because, what if they think this or what if they understand this or what if they, I don't know, just infer things about me and such fear of just existing as who I am was the thing there. And it was very not healthy and very not good for me. So coming out here was really great, and being here and also coming out here and just be able to relax. That's really the biggest thing I've come to terms with in the last year is relaxing in who I am and being who I am and being able to interact in the world as myself.
There seems to be an invisible monkey that doesn't exist on your back anymore, right? From the young Chase that I knew.
Oh yeah, that poor child was neurotic and fearful and and forever thinking about how they were doing things in the world, and was this too straight, or is this too feminine, or is it okay if I like theater? Is it okay if I like do these things? Or like blah blah blah. Like all the extra thought that went into existing then, I've been able to like release and relax, and I just be me. That's I just be me. That's the best thing I've learned.
Is that not the thing that you feel like you gravitate to the more that you get older? Is this like, I'm just gonna be me, and if anybody has a problem with that, it's not really my concern.
Right? I don't give a shit. It's not my fault. It's not my deal.
It's not my problem.
Like, you don't have to talk to me. You don't have to interact with me. You can whatever.
The older I have gotten, I have found that the idea of arguing with anybody about anything is so unattractive to me. It's right. It's
because you can just move on. Like, you don't have to have that conversation. You don't have to have the argument.
Right.
I can just be like, okay, well, that's what you think, and now I'm going to go over here.
When I was 21, the idea of someone suggesting to me that David Fincher's Seven was like less than the perfect movie, I would fist fight somebody, right? And
for
now,
David Fincher, all right.
It's like, and if someone said like, I don't care for Seven, I'd be like, well, it's okay.
Seven's fun.
I'm going to move on with my day. You know what I mean? It's like just any topic you can possibly think of. The idea of fighting with someone about it anymore is just kind of ugh.
Learning moderation, learning like, and that's something I have to do. So like right now, I'm in a dress and heels, and I look really nice. And
it works.
I look really good. I'm happy how I look this evening. But you were with me the other day. I can be walking down the street and someone will just yell.
People throw out weird comments, and it's like,
is that a dress?
Yeah. Is that?
Yeah, man. What the? Do you think it is?
Do you not have anything better to do with your Saturday? Then okay.
But yeah, just the number of people that feel the need that they can just like yell things at me is entirely new, and it because of the more feminine appearance I have in the world, and I again makes me think and just feel absolute sympathy for the women of the world who are attractive or moderately attractive, and the number of men that will catcall them and do all that crazy shit. It is strange. It's very strange when people run into you in life and you challenge their perception of the world, and they feel the need to like get combative with you about it.
Yeah.
Like it's your fault that I'm struggling with these concepts. That's so weird to me. And
as a person who is unabashedly and very attractive. It's off-putting to me when someone screams at me, "Take your shirt off," and I'm like, "All right, folks, let's settle down."
Does that happen to you a bunch?
All the time. The bottom line is, Chase and I have known each other for longer than most people have known each other.
Oh man, longer than most people have had jobs.
Yeah, right. Yeah, or have had marriages, right, or have had relationships, right. Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
What is? And I'll start because I know I might be putting you on the spot. For the listeners, what's a fun memory that you can share between you and I, like that involves you and I?
Oh,
I'll start. That way you can kind of.
Please.
One of the memories that I think about, maybe not all the time. It's not like something I think about every morning when I wake up. But Chase and I are movie fans. We've been movie fanatics for a long, long time. Back when we were in high school, we had a collective of friends that would rent movies, and we would watch them over the course of the weekend. One of the movies that we rented one weekend was a terrible, horrible, schlocky film called Frankenfish, and we watched it with a group of people, and it was like, and I'll never forget, it was
Frankenfish.
It was the night that we watched it. There was like 3 or 4 of us in the room, maybe 5 or 6. And we were watching it like Mystery Science Theater 3000 version, where we were all just throwing out one-liners in the movie. And I remember just thinking like how like you particularly that evening were on fire with your zingers.
Hey.
But also I just remember specifically thinking like how lucky I am to have these sorts of friends. You know, there are so many memories that I can think of on my childhood that it's not like this one shining moment where it's like you came through as a hero. But there were so many moments where you were just there. And I think that being friends with someone over the course of a long period of time boils down to just being there.
Yeah.
You know, being there for that person in that event. And there are so many monumental moments in my life that you were just there for. In a good way. I don't mean you were just physically in the room. That makes it sound like you were just geographically lucky. I don't mean it that way. Yeah, I was just in the room. No, I just mean you were invited, you were wanted, you were there, and it was like you were like a little dash of paprika that just spiced the moment where it was like, yeah, I will never forget this moment because Chase was there.
That is okay. Thank you. That is incredibly touching. I can't deal with those types of emotions. But yes, I mean, I agree. Same for you. I have tons of memories of happy memories. I have a memory of being at your birthday at like a pool.
There was a memory I do distinctly remember where my parents live in a neighborhood that has a neighborhood pool, and there was one year where it was very poorly maintained, and we got in this pool.
It was bad. It was gross. It was like a pond.
No, it was like a swamp.
It was like a swamp.
It was like a swamp, dude. Like, it was gross. And I distinctly remember at one point we got in there, and I felt something against my leg, and it was not a person. It was
frog.
like a snake or something.
No, it was the frog. We tracked down the frog.
It was a frog. Okay, fine. We tracked down a frog.
Yeah, your community pool was run as well as
there were a couple of years there in my parents' community where it was less than equally maintained. Yeah, it was not good.
But I absolutely remember the frog, and I remember the terror of trying to figure out what the hell it was.
I think we all assumed it was the anaconda from the movie Anaconda, because at that point we had already seen it.
The best movie of all time,
yeah,
giant snake movie.
It was 38 feet long. It had previously eaten John Voight.
So we were terrified. But that was a good birthday. That was I have tons of great memories with you and just you being there as well. And I feel sorry, I'm very overwhelmed with
Aw.
I don't get a ton of compliments like that from the world, so you know. But thank you. I totally lost track of what we were talking about. You erased my brain with emotions.
Aw.
What the fuck were we talking about?
Just talking about growing up, man. Just
talking about growing up.
Hanging out, growing up. What were you? Okay, here's a question that I have for you.
Sorry.
We'll do a quick edit point.
Here's a question I have.
Hold on, let me ask you a quick. This might lead into a good story. Okay. We went to school at a place where, and we grew up in an environment where senior prank was a big thing. It was the talk of the town. It was a giant thing.
I don't know if I want to talk about this.
I had a small role in senior prank because there were 63 kids in our class.
64.
I think 64. I think I was assigned role 63, and my buddy Mitch was assigned 64. We had a very specific role. We were put on the roof of the school for lookout.
Oh, God.
Right. That was literally it. That's all we had to do. It went calamitously wrong. Mitch ended up in the back of a cop car. What was your role in that? Yeah, Mitch got locked up for about a brief second, and then the cops let him go. But what was your role in all of that? We can get into the story just a little bit later, maybe a further future episode.
There's not a whole lot of story to tell. We went to high school. Before finals, the seniors would do a prank at the school because they didn't have to take finals because obviously they were done. So we went to do our senior prank. It went okay-ish.
For the record, I would like to say it went horrifically wrong as far as my recollection.
It went okay-ish. I'll go okay-ish.
See, Chase was on the A team of the popular kids.
I wasn't even on the A team. I was on the team that had to deal with the police.
Okay, so he was the B team, but still, he wasn't the F-level team that was assigned to the roof.
So the roof was a safe place. The roof was our main entry point in this situation because we had to climb to the roof and then get into the building. Because that door was always open. So you guys actually had a really important job to do.
It felt like we didn't. And I'll tell you this, memory serves me, this will make you laugh because it's true. The two people assigned on getting up on the roof, I've never been in wonderfully great shape, but I'm also tall. So I think that's why I got assigned the job.
You could boost somebody.
Right. Absolutely, I could boost somebody. So our friend Mitch and I are assigned to this job. And we come up to the wall, and I'm like, all right, what are we going to do? Like, all right, how do we get up on this wall? And I turn, he's gone. He's up on the wall. He is literally Spider-Man up the wall.
Mitch is incredible.
Like listeners
Mitch went
to understand.
On to join the
Green Berets.
Yes.
He is a Green Beret now. That's why he got up on that wall.
Dude is amazing.
I then made him lean off the wall and pull me up the wall because I could not Spider-Man my way up there. That was the extent of my entire.
So my involvement was, first I sort of was a party to making the general plan. We were trying to
listen, folks. He was a part of the A team. Do not let him convince you otherwise. He was a part of the A team. He was a plan maker.
So we were. I mean, we me and my friend Corey like drew the battle map, as it were, of like all the things we were gonna do on the property. All don't break into your school. Don't do a senior
Don't
prank.
do any of this.
Don't do any of these things. They are not beneficial to a happy police-free life. So we were part of making the big general plan as far as like what we're gonna do, who was gonna go where. I probably put you and Mitch on the roof.
Thereabouts.
That was a part of it. Because you're a good lookout, man. If somebody.
Because I was so tall at that point, I could have easily seen.
And also very loud, so if something happened, you could yell.
Hey, everybody!
Go away! Go home! You could do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the other thing I was involved in doing in the day was being the driver. I had to drive people to locations and drop them off. And in the course of that happening, we drove across campus in this particular situation. We cut across the school on a little back road that went from a back entrance to the main entrance. We did that, and as we turned to, like, I guess, take a lap around campus again, we had an officer turn on his lights and pull us over. And there was nothing really going on. There were 5 people in the car. I wasn't really worried about it. And everyone in the vehicle was like, don't lie to him. Just tell him what we're doing. Tell him what's going on. And I go, yeah, you're right. Yes. Okay. That's what we will do.
Do not lie to this police officer.
Don't lie to the police officer.
Heard, chef.
We're messing around. We're kids being dumb. So the cop walks up the window and asks me a question. He's like, what are you kids doing here tonight? And for no reason, I lie to the man. I go, oh, we're just going to 7-Eleven. We're just going to get Slurpees. 5 friends going to get Slurpees at 11:45 at night.
No one wearing seatbelts in this car.
No one wearing seatbelts. We all look incredibly shady. We all look like we're up to no good for certain.
Everybody has that football black,
Got eye
under
black
their
on.
eyes.
We're all wearing dark clothing. Nope, we're just getting Slurpees. We're just out here getting Slurpees. That was the best excuse that I could give the guy. And he looks at me and looks up and down, looks at everybody else in the car, and he's like, I don't think so.
I don't
believe you're just here to get Slurpees.
I might have been born at night, but it wasn't last night.
So he pulls me out of the car and walks me to the back of the vehicle and proceeds to like interrogate me. It wasn't really an interrogation, but he asked me what really is going on. And because I am like kind, genteel human at that point, I put my hands behind my back, and everybody in the vehicle suddenly believes that I've been arrested. And so everybody in my car is worried and freaking out and texting everybody and telling, like, call it off, we can't do this thing tonight. And I'm just having a casual conversation with the officer, like convincing him that we were going to 7-Eleven at 11:45 at night. And just, 5 people hanging out in a car. We just want Slurpees. We all really, really want the blue Fanta Slurpee that's going on there.
Yeah.
And we've happened to be driving by the school that we all go to.
What a coincidence.
And so he like hears me out, and this officer is very nice and very like, okay, all right,
All right,
all right, fine.
Yeah.
And I say my whole thing, and I do my best to convince him that there's absolutely everything's on the up and up, and everybody's great. And he goes, look, we've been contacted by the school. We know why you're all here. So, if you haven't done anything, you can all just go home. And I'm like,
right on.
Yes, you're right.
All right.
I will get in my car and I will drive away, and we'll go home, and everything will be great. And so he gives us the option to do that, and I go, yeah, that's fine. So I go back to my car, and everybody's freaking out, and like, what did you do? We thought you were in handcuffs, blah, 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 blah. I was like, no, he said we could just go home, as long as we just go home.
Yes, yeah.
And I believe that's what my particular section went on to go to do. Everybody else was like had crazy hijinks go on, and people still did stuff there. But I was like, jigs up, dudes. We have to leave.
I wouldn't know. I was on the roof looking out for trouble.
Did you stay on the roof the whole time?
Yeah, the whole time. Until the police came out with a spotlight and were like, hey, we know the 2 of you are up there. You're awkwardly trying to hide behind an air filter that is 2 feet wide. We can see you.
Did they let you leave?
Yeah, they did. They were like,
so
just
lucky.
Go home. Just enough of this.
What a goddamn boys will be boys situation.
Yeah, I think it was because I think Mitch probably just immediately, you put your hands behind your back. He got on the ground and put his hands.
Did he get on the ground?
Yeah, and they were like, all right, these kids are obviously submissive enough that they're like, just go home and this is over.
I do the hands behind the back thing when I'm talking to police, because I've been told like they freak out if you make any big
You've been there, dude. You've done some.
gesticulations.
You've done some. I mean, you've been out on the streets in the last couple of years. Like,
Make it sound like I've been homeless.
no. I mean, you've been out there protesting. Like, you've been making
I
your
haven't
voice
done
heard,
protesting.
Brandon. Like, I'm
I've done
proud of you.
All kinds of stuff. I was wrongfully arrested once, which sucks. And I was put in Los Angeles County for like a couple of nights, which is very wild. Not a situation anybody should
That
be in.
sounds like a conversation for a few more drinks
Probably.
than this podcast allows. Yeah. The bottom line is, folks, we're going to have some interesting interviews with really fun people, and we're going to learn a little bit, we're going to grow, and we want you to come along on this journey with us. Grab a glass, grab some ice, have a drink, maybe two, and hopefully we'll see you on the next one. Cheers, everybody.
See you next time.